This tree is so abundant that a single specimen can drop 500 pounds of fruit in a year. A fruit so potent that it fueled the most famous trade route in human history and nearly bankrupted the United States economy in the 19th century. Yet, if you walk through the suburbs of Tucson, Las Vegas, or El Paso today, planting this tree isn't just frowned upon, it is a criminal offense. We live in a food system of absurd contradictions. We will happily drive to Whole Foods and pay $6.99 for a plastic clamshell containing 6 ounces of blackberries that have been trucked 2,000 miles from Mexico. Meanwhile, city maintenance crews are paid with your tax dollars to chainsaw down a tree that produces a berry superior in almost every metric, simply because it refuses to behave. This is the story of the Everbearing Mulberry, the tree that proved abundance is only a problem when you can't sell it. Welcome to Ancestral Yields. If you're ready to rediscover the plants that civilization tried to ban, smash that like button and subscribe. Let's strip away the reputation and look at the lab results, because the numbers are embarrassing for the fruits we currently call superfoods. Let's talk about iron. Iron deficiency is one of the most common nutrient deficiencies in the United States. We are told to eat spinach, but the iron in spinach is often locked up by oxalates, making it hard to absorb. A standard 3.5-ounce serving, about 100 grams, of raw blueberries contains roughly 0.4 milligrams of iron. That is barely anything. You would have to eat a bucket of them to make a dent. Now look at the mulberry. That same 3.5-ounce serving delivers 1.85 to 2.6 milligrams of iron. That is a 500% to 650% increase. For a fruit to rival leafy greens and even some cuts of beef in mineral content is a botanical anomaly. It is effectively a blood-building berry. Then there is the heart health compound, resveratrol. This is the famous antioxidant found in red wine that supposedly justifies your glass of Merlot. In grapes, resveratrol is found almost exclusively in the skin, but in mulberries, it penetrates the entire fruit. Research indicates that whole mulberries can contain upwards of 50 micrograms of resveratrol per gram. That is 5 times the concentration found in grapes. To get the resveratrol punch of a handful of mulberries, you would have to drink liters of wine, which creates a whole new set of health problems. And unlike most fruits, mulberries have structural substance. They are approximately 1.5% protein by fresh weight. If you dry them, creating mulberry raisins, that protein content shoots up to 12%. In a survival situation, or even just a hiking snack, this is not just a vitamin supplement, it is a macronutrient source. Finally, there is vitamin C. A serving of mulberries packs about 36 milligrams of vitamin C. Compare that to the 9.7 milligrams in blueberries. That is more than 3.5 times as much. So, if this tree is a nutritional powerhouse, why is it not in every orchard in America? Because in the 1830s, the mulberry did not just feed America, it broke it. The white mulberry, Morus alba, is the sole food source of the silkworm. For centuries, silk was the oil of the ancient world, a commodity so valuable it connected empires. In the early 19th century, American farmers caught mulberry mania. The logic was simple: if we plant the trees, we can grow the silk, and we can undercut China. The specific variety they chased was Morus multicaulis, a fast-growing strain. Speculation was rampant. In 1834, a young tree cost about $4. By 1837, as the frenzy peaked, single saplings were trading for the modern equivalent of $300 to $500. Farmers mortgaged their family homesteads to buy mere twigs. The nursery industry abandoned food crops entirely to propagate mulberries. It was a fever dream of infinite wealth. And then, in 1839, the bubble burst. A hard winter killed millions of the delicate multicolored trees, and the market realized there was no infrastructure to actually process the silk. The price crashed to zero overnight. The legacy of this crash is written on the American landscape. Bankrupt, angry investors burned millions of trees in bonfires. Others simply abandoned them in hedgerows and fence lines. But nature does not care about economics. Those abandoned trees survived. They cross-pollinated with our native red mulberry, Morus rubra, creating the millions of wild, weedy hybrid trees that populate the eastern United States today. The tree was viewed as a failed stock certificate, not a food source. When the money vanished, the tree was discarded, even though it was still producing tons of food. Following the agricultural crash, the mulberry faced a new enemy in the mid-20th century, the Homeowners Association. After World War II, the American landscape shifted from the farmhouse to the suburb. The priority of the yard shifted from production, the victory garden, to aesthetics, the manicured lawn. Mulberries are messy. There is no getting around it. A mature tree drops fruit for weeks. The juice is a deep, indelible purple that stains concrete driveways, beige carpets, and the hoods of white sedans. Birds eat the fruit and then, to put it politely, paint the neighborhood fences purple. City planners and landscape architects declared war. They labeled the mulberry a trash tree. In 1984, the city of Tucson, Arizona, banned the planting of new mulberry trees. Las Vegas followed in 1991, and El Paso in 1992. To solve the mess problem, nurseries had started selling fruitless mulberries, clones of male trees that produced no berries. But nature has a catch. Male trees produce pollen, creating massive, suffocating clouds. The fruitless solution created an allergy apocalypse in the Southwest, turning the mulberry into a public health hazard for asthmatics. However, amidst the bans and the neglect, one specific tree emerged to redeem the species. The year was 1947. A man named Peter Glazer was exploring the rich, silty bottomlands of the Wabash River in White County, Illinois. He was looking for superior genetics, trees that defied the norm. Most wild mulberries have a short season. They dump all their fruit in a chaotic 2-week window in June, and then they are done. But Glazer found a tree that was breaking the rules. It was a natural hybrid, a genetic cross between the hardy, flavorful native red mulberry and the vigorous, imported white mulberry. The magic was in the timing. This tree did not stop. It began ripening fruit in June and continued to produce fresh berries continuously through September. It was dubbed the Illinois Everbearing, and it was introduced to the nursery trade in 1958. This tree solved the two biggest complaints about the mulberry. First, flavor. It did not have the insipid, sugary blandness of the white mulberry, and it had the size and vigor that the native red sometimes lacked. It was the perfect balance of sweet and tart. Second, supply. A single Illinois everbearing tree could provide a family with a bowl of fresh berries every morning for 3 months straight. It transformed the mulberry from a messy 2-week nuisance into a reliable, season-long staple crop. It proved that the weed was actually just a tree waiting for the right genetics. So, how do you opt out of the $7 Blackberry scam and grow your own? First, a safety check. Unlike many wild plants, the mulberry has almost no poisonous lookalikes. The only plant you need to avoid is pokeberry. Pokeberry is a herbaceous weed with hot pink stems and clusters of dark berries. Pokeberry is toxic. If it is a giant tree with leaves that look like jagged mittens, it is a mulberry. Do not forage mulberries from urban roadsides or power line cuts. These areas are frequently sprayed with heavy herbicides. Now for the most important part, sourcing your tree. You need to be very careful here. Do not buy mulberry seeds from Amazon or eBay. The Illinois Everbearing is a hybrid. It does not grow true from seed. If you plant a seed, you will likely end up with a wild white mulberry that produces tons of pollen and mediocre fruit. To get the true superfood tree, you must buy a grafted sapling or a rooted cutting. You are buying a clone of the original tree Peter Glaser found. For reliable genetics, look to established nurseries that specialize in edible landscaping. Stark Bros Nurseries, Raintree Nursery, One Green World, and Edible Landscaping are the gold standards for this variety. Demand is high among the permaculture crowd, so these trees often sell out by late winter. Order early. But before you plant, you have one homework assignment. Remember those bans we talked about? In specific municipalities, particularly in the Southwest, in cities such as Tucson, Las Vegas, and El Paso, planting any mulberry can still be a code violation due to strict pollen ordinances. While the Illinois Everbearing is female and produces very little pollen, some city inspectors do not care about the botany. They only care about the species name on the tag. Check your local municipal code or county extension office first. You want to grow a food forest, not a fine. If you are in the clear, this tree is a tank. It thrives in USDA zones 4 through 8, meaning it can handle winters from Minnesota down to the heat of Georgia. It wants full sun and space, so do not plant this next to your driveway unless you want a purple car. Plant it in the back corner of the yard, give it 15 to 20 feet of room, and let it go. It is drought tolerant, pest resistant, and essentially impossible to kill once established. We live in a culture that defines luxury by price. We think the expensive, imported berry is the better berry. But true luxury is what is unobtainable by the masses. True luxury is a fruit so delicate it cannot be sold, so rich it cannot be faked, and so abundant it cannot be metered. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the forbidden fruit, hit that subscribe button for ancestral yields. We'll see you in the garden.